Hi everyone, and welcome to the Brainfuse training webinar for the Orange County Library System. My name is Jamie Wallace. I'm from Brainfuse, and I'll be conducting the webinar today. So we're looking right now at the main page that your patrons will see when they log in and access Brainfuse. So basically today, we're just going to go through all the different services and options that your patrons will have when they sign into Brainfuse. So they'll access this page by clicking on the link to Brainfuse that you post on your library's website. So that can be posted wherever you like. So your patrons click on that link and they'll be able to access this page right here. Basically all of the options we see here on this page are geared towards students. So in up through 12th grade and even first or second year college level, we're happy to help with. So that's what all of these different buttons we see here are geared towards, the students. If you have any adult learners at your library, we also have resources for them. You access that by clicking on the yellow Adult Learners button up here. So we'll get to that a little bit later today, but we're going to start with the buttons we have here on the main Help Now page. So I'm going to start in the Expert Help section here and basically just work my way down the page showing you all of the different options that we have here within our Help Now service. So basically our first two options here are Live Help and Skills Building. These will both connect you with one of our live tutors. The difference is that the Live Help button on the left is usually used by a student who has a specific question they'd like to ask their tutor. So usually a homework question or, going over a class assignment or a test they got back, something like that. The Skills Building button on the right is for a student who just has a general topic or skill that they'd like some additional help on. So for the Live Help button, if I click on that, to connect with a live tutor, all I need to do is enter a grade level. You'll see we have all the grade levels up through 12th here. We also have a college subject. Then we have some standardized test options here as well. And then we'll have some other resources like practice tests for these options that we'll see a little bit later. So I just choose the grade level I'd like and then the subject that I need help with. So for a higher grade level, like 11th, you'll see a lot of advanced subjects here. And then if you go down and choose something like 4th grade, you'll just see the basic subjects, English, math, science, social studies, and writing. So you just choose the one you'd like to get help with. You can also click on this checkbox right here if you'd like a Spanish-speaking tutor, and then you click on the Get Live Help button. So that will connect you in our online classroom with a live tutor. We'll come back towards the end of the webinar today and look at an actual live session to see how that works. The only part of our service that has limited hours is our live tutoring options. So whenever you can connect with a live tutor, we'll see a few different options throughout our service where you can do that. The hours for that, for the Orange County Library System, will be from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. local time, so East Coast time. So 7 days a week, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., you can access our live tutors. All the other parts of our service where you're not connecting with a live tutor, those are all available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Back on the main page here, let's look at the Skills Building button now. So again, this connects you with a tutor who can provide help on a general topic or skill that you're working on. So you just click on the Skills Building button here. And then again, you'll need to choose a grade level and a subject. So here on the Skills Building page, I just enter, let's say 8th grade, and then math. And then here on this page for Skills Building, we have one additional drop-down menu. So for 8th grade math, I can choose from all the different skills that are listed here in this third drop-down menu. So for each of the skills that's listed here, we have a lesson created. So when you choose a topic here from the skills that we have available, I'll show you, there's a number here. There's a lot of these available. So they're pretty much available for every standard topic. So if I choose Evaluate Expressions with Powers, and then I click on Get Live Help, that will connect me with a tutor. The tutor will see that I chose this subject to work on. They can load our lesson on that subject, and then they'll work through that lesson with the student. Our lessons are just like those in a textbook, so they'll go over the basics of the topic and then some sample and practice questions. And the tutor will be there the whole time working through that subject. If you can't find the subject that you need help with here, just go ahead and connect with a tutor, and then you can manually tell the tutor what it is that you need help with. So those were the Live Help and Skills Building options. If we move down the page, our next option here is the Writing Lab. So the Writing Lab basically allows a student to send in a piece of writing to us one of our writing tutors will review it, provide some feedback, and then send that back to the student. So to use the writing lab here, because you're sending something to us and then we'll be sending something back to you, you need to have your own username and password to access the writing lab. For the live help options that we just saw, you actually do not need that. You can just log in. The system will give you a guest account and you can connect with our live tutors. But for a number of other parts of our service, you'll be required to have a username and password, and that's just so that information can be stored within your account. So for the writing lab here, the paper that you send, as well as the one that we send back to you, will be saved within this Brainfuse account that you create. When you sign up for the account, the only things you need to give us are a username and a password, and those can be whatever you'd like. So you do not need to provide any personal information, no name, no email address, nothing like that. Just create a username and a password, and then you'll use that to sign back into your account whenever you access Brainfuse in the future. So for the writing lab here, the document that we send back is sent to your Brainfuse account, and not to your email address or something like that. So whenever you try to access a part of our service where you need a username and password, our system will prompt you to either sign in if you have an account or to create a new account. So when you click on the Writing Lab button, it would take you to a page asking for that. I've already signed in for today, so if I click on the Writing Lab, it'll take me directly to the Writing Lab page here. So to actually send in a document to us through the Writing Lab, you just follow the steps here. So you click on Browse to locate a file that you'd like to send in. So I'll attach a sample paper that I have. Pretty much any standard document type can be sent to us, although the majority that we get, of course, are Word documents or something similar to that, text documents. You have a comments box here where you can type out any notes you'd like to say or make to the tutor who's going to review that file. So you can type out what the assignment was, or what specifically you're looking for help with. And then you click on the Submit button when you're ready to send that in. So you get a message here that directs you to the message center. So whenever you're signed in with that username and password you created, you will have these learning account features here on the right-hand side. So each one of these options that you have here will be specific to your account. So the first one we'll look at is the message center. We'll look at the rest of these as we go through the webinar. But here in the message center, we have the paper that we just sent in. And then when the tutor sends back their response, it'll show up directly below this. So we respond within 1 business day, as that message you just saw on the last page said. That's our maximum turnaround time. A lot of the time we'll respond much more quickly than that. This right here is a sample of what we send back. So we always include our rubric form on the top. This contains a number of different parts or sections here where the tutor will have to fill in their comments about that student's paper. So the tutor will always fill out the rubric form, and then if you scroll further down, you'll find the actual paper that the student sent in to us, and the tutor will also embed comments within the student's paper. So the comments we see here in the blue text, these are from our tutor. So that's how we do our reviews. When we send that back to the student, it'll always look something like this. If we go back to the home page here, that was the Writing Lab button. Right next to that, we have Send Question. So this service works exactly the same way as the Writing Lab, except it's to send in a question rather than a document. So you just click on the Send Question button. Of course, you'll need a username and password to use this service as well. You just enter a grade level and a subject, and then you type out the question that you have. You can also attach a document if you'd like, here in number 3. That's optional. And then you submit that to us. So that goes out to our tutors. One of them will start working on it and send back a response, again, within a maximum turnaround time of 1 business day. For questions sent in here, we're never going to give out an answer to a student. So we'll either give them some hints, give them some resources, or work through a similar problem to show how that type of question is done. So something like that, but we'll never actually do the problem for the student and give out the answer. So those questions, along with the tutor's response, will also be saved in the message center here on the right-hand side. And then next to the Send Question button, we have the Language Lab. So this is basically where a student would go if they are working on learning the Spanish language. So Spanish is currently the only option that we have. You'll see if you click on the Language Lab, you can only choose Spanish from the drop-down menu. So you can choose that and then click on the Get Live Help button to connect with a live tutor who can help you with learning Spanish. So those are the options that we have here in the Expert Help section. Now I'll move down to the Study section, and the first button here is the Test Center. So basically the Test Center allows a student to take academic practice tests. It's another part of the service where you'll need a username and password, and that's so that your test results can be saved within your account. So if you click on the Test Center button here, again, I'm already signed in, so it takes me directly to the Test Center page here. So on the left-hand side, I can just choose a grade level, and then a subject, and I can take a practice test in that subject. Then on the right-hand side, we also have some standardized tests available. So here we have the AccuPlacer and the ASVAB and the ACT and SAT. So if, for example, I want to take an ACT math quiz, I just choose that. I click on Take a Test. And this page right here is called the My Tests page. So you'll see on the right, we have My Tests right underneath the Message Center. So this is where your test results will be saved. So any test you take, you'll see the scores here. You'll be able to retake a test. There's a button next to each one that will let you retake it. And of course, you can open up the test itself just to look through the questions and see which ones you answered incorrectly. If you want to take a new test that you've already requested, right here is the ACT Math quiz that I just requested. So I can click on the name of this here and open it up and work through that test. A lot of students like to take one of our practice tests, and then they'll sign in with one of our live tutors, and our tutors are able to access that student's test results so they can go over the questions that the student answered incorrectly. So that's a great way for a student to practice, and learn from their mistakes. Back on the main page here, next to the Test Center, we have what we call Learn Now. So basically Learn Now lets the student browse through all of the resources that we have created on their own, and look through our lessons, our video lessons, things like that, and get help on a topic on their own. So they're not connecting with a live tutor, but they're looking through our content. So when you click on the Learn Now button, we have all these different topics listed up here at the top that you can choose from. So let's say I just choose high school, and then within high school here, we have some math subjects, reading, writing, different sciences, social studies. So you just choose the one that you're looking for help with. So let's say I'm in an Algebra 1 class. Let's say I need help on a topic within properties of real numbers. So I have all these subtopics over here on the left within Algebra 1. So for properties of real numbers, we have a number of lessons here and a number of video lessons. So you can just click on the lesson. That'll open up right here in this window, and you can look through that lesson on your own. You can do the same thing with video lessons. Click on one of the video lessons, and that will also open right here. You can play the video with audio. And all of this content has been created by us. So that's how Learn Now can be used, and it can be used with any of these subjects that we list up at the top here. Back on the main page here, our next option is Flashbulb, which is basically an online flashcard service. So if a student has to do some memorization, instead of creating hard copies of flashcards, they can click on Flashbulb here, enter their own cards by clicking on the Create Now button here on the left. So they enter their vocabulary words and definitions, or terms from a science class, whatever it is that they're trying to memorize. And then they'll have a nice set of flashcards created here online with a lot of additional options that will help with memorization that you would not have with a standard hard copy set of flashcards. We also have all these different topics you see listed here. So this essentially lets you search through sets of flashcards that other people have created. They may not be accurate or cover the exact words that you're looking to work on, but they're here as a resource in case you want to use them. I'm going to click on a set that's already been created just to quickly show you our flashcards. So if you create a set, you'll see a page that looks just like this. This is one set of flashcards. You can click on each of these different icons down here, and it will let you do something different with the cards to help with memorization. You can just see the flashcards themselves with the first button. Then there's a number of games available here. You can take a quiz or a test. You can print the cards out if you do want hard copies. So there's a lot of options available here that will help with memorization. We're back on the main page now. So those were the 3 options here in the study section. Now we have down at the bottom our collaborate section. And the first button here is Meet. So essentially Meet allows you to schedule an online meeting with whoever you would like to invite to the session. So it uses our online classroom, the same one as when you connect with one of our live tutors for a live session, except in Meet here, you're not connecting with our tutors. You're only connecting with the people that you invite to the session. So it might be used by a group of students to have a study group outside of the classroom, or it could even be used by a teacher or a tutor to give some extra help to one student or to multiple students. So if I click on the Meet button here, you will need a username and password to schedule one of these sessions. However, the people you invite to a Meet session will not need a username and password. I'll address that again in just a few seconds. But to schedule a Meet session here, you just enter the email addresses of the people that you'd like to invite. Then you put in the date and time, a brief description of the meeting, and click on Send. So that will send out an email to everybody whose email address you entered. That email will contain a link, and they can click on the link to join that session. So again, the people who are invited, the participants, do not need to have a Brainfuse username and password. Only the person scheduling this session. For the person who schedules it, they have a calendar option here on the right. So that's where a scheduled session would be saved. Right here is one that I scheduled earlier. So if I wanted to start that session, I would just click on the Enter button. So we will look at one of these Meet sessions, but I'm going to do that at the very end because I want to look at a regular live tutoring session first. And then we'll look at a Meet session here, and I'll highlight the differences. So the online classroom that you'll use here in a Meet session is very similar to the one that you'll use when you're connected in a live session with our tutors. There's just a couple small differences that I'll highlight towards the end today. Back on the main page here, that was our Meet button. Right next to that, we have Brainwave. So this button here says Create and Share Movie-like Notes and Ideas. Essentially, you are given a smartboard here within Brainwave, and you can type out or draw whatever you'd like to put on the board, and then you'll have a nice little video recording created. So you might use it to show how to solve a multi-step math problem. You have a number of tools available where you can put shapes, graphs, number lines. You can copy and paste. You can draw text, anything like that. The options that you have are the same as the ones you have in a live session. So we'll see those when we connect for the live session towards the end today. You basically have almost the same window as our online classroom here when you're creating a Brainwave, except of course you're not connected with a tutor. So if I want to create a new Brainwave, I just click on the Create a Brainwave button down here. This is one that I created earlier. So you can click on the play button to replay that Brainwave. I'll just quickly open this one for you. So I just put a graph on the board, put a line, and plotted some points, and then presumably started to find the slope of that line. So I didn't go through all the steps, but you'll see the different options that you have. So you can put all these different shapes on the board. You can draw and type. You can also type down here in the text box or the chat box, and that's all recorded. The nice thing about these recordings you can create, though, you can just create them for your own benefit, but you can also send them to other people. So you just click on the envelope icon right here, and that will let you enter somebody's email address, and you can send that recording to them by email. It'll just be sent as a link in an email, so they'll click on the link, and they can view that recording. So these might be sent by a student to a fellow student, or again, they could even be created by a teacher or a tutor and sent to their students. You can always access your Brainwaves page right here by clicking on Brainwaves on the right-hand side. You will need a username and password also to create these Brainwaves so that they're stored within your account. You also have a Brainwave library tab right here. So this lets you search by keyword to see if there are any other Brainwaves created on a topic that you're working on. These are just like the flashcards, though. They're mostly just created by other users of Brainfuse and other students, so they may not be accurate. So back here on the main page, we're down at the bottom. We just looked at Meet and Brainwave. So those are all the main options that you have available here. We also have our Adult Learning Center, which is accessed by clicking on the yellow button up here at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that now. Just click right here. And you get to this page, which we call our Adult Learning Center. So again, this can be used by any adult patrons at your library, who are going back to school and taking classes, studying for any sorts of tests or exams or certifications, or for any other reason, they're looking for academic help. They can come here to get it. On the right-hand side of this page, underneath where it says Lifelong Learning, we basically have 5 of the exact same services that we just saw back on the main page. They're just geared towards adults here. So we have live tutoring, where adult learners can access our live tutors. We also have the skills building option, where they can access live tutors as well to get help on a general topic or skill. And we have the writing lab, where they can send in a piece of writing to have it reviewed. The test center, where they can take a practice test. And 24/7 help, where they can send in a question to us any time of day. So these services here work exactly the same way as ones we just saw back on the main Help Now page. They're just geared towards adult learners here in the Adult Learning Center. And then on the left-hand side here, we have some additional options for adult learners. So we have a Pass the GED button. So for anyone who's preparing to take the GED test, we have some resources here for them. So we have a study materials option. Under number 2, we have a live tutors option. So you can connect with one of our live tutors to get help with any of the sections of the GED test. And then on the right, we also have practice tests available for the GED. Right below the GED button, we have Prepare for the U.S. Citizenship Test. So here we have the same options as we did for the GED. So we have study materials, live tutors, and then practice tests, all for the U.S. Citizenship Test. And then our next button here is Write a Winning Resume. So if you have any patrons who are in a job search, looking for a job, we have a couple options here to help them. We have our resume button right here, where we offer help with creating a resume. We have some online resources here under number 1. Under number 2, we have what we call our Upload Resume button. This works exactly like the Writing Lab that we saw before. So that was where a patron could send in a piece of writing to have it reviewed by one of our writing tutors. You can do the same thing here with your resume. Just click on that button. You'll see we call it the Resume Lab, so just like the Writing Lab. The patron sends in their resume. You can also send in a cover letter here. We're happy to help with that. And then one of our resume tutors will respond. They'll provide some help on formatting as well as content, and they'll send that back to the patron within 1 business day, just like for the Writing Lab. Next to the Upload Resume button, we have a Live Resume Help option. So you can click here to connect with one of our resume tutors in a live session and get help answering any questions you have or even going over your resume in real time. We also have this Career Resources button down at the bottom. This sort of goes along with the Resume button. So basically here we have a list of websites compiled that you can use to find available jobs to apply to. So we have a section for general job sites, then we have one for students and recent graduates, and down at the bottom we have some job sites for veterans. And then I briefly skipped over the Microsoft Office Help button right here. So I'll click on that now. And here we offer help with Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint up to the most recent versions of those programs. So we have some online resources, including some free tutorials here on the left. And then on the right, you can connect with a live tutor and ask any questions you have about Excel, PowerPoint, or Word. So those are all the options that you have here within our Adult Learning Center. So now I'm going to go back to our home page where we started, here on the main Help Now page. So now we basically looked at all the different buttons you have here that you can click on within the Help Now service. Here on the right-hand side, under the Learning Account features, I think there's a couple of these that we haven't touched on yet. My account will just show you your username and password in case you've forgotten it. View past sessions, I'll show you when we connect for the live session. But basically all of your live tutoring sessions are automatically recorded and saved here within this section, assuming you have a username and password. So if you remember, I said that you did not need a username and password to access our live tutors. The system will just give you a guest account if you don't sign in. But if you use a guest account, your sessions are not automatically recorded and saved. We went through all of these options except for My Cloud Pack. So My Cloud Pack is basically a storage device. So here, this Cloud Pack has not been used. So I might want to add some folders here. Let's say I want to add one for English papers. Maybe I want to add another one for math class notes. So you can add whatever folders you'd like here. And then you can upload documents into these folders. So it'll work as a storage device. You can back up documents here. You can also create documents directly from this page by clicking on the Add button right here. That's also where you go to upload a document. So in one capacity, it'll work just as a backup storage device. But the nice thing about Cloud Pack is that you can access all of the documents you have saved here when you're connected in a live session. So if you're connected with a tutor, you have a paper you're working on saved here. You can access that paper and upload it into our online classroom to share it with the tutor. So I'll mention that again in just a few seconds when we connect for the live session. Okay, so now that's pretty much everything here on this page. So that's all the options that your patrons will have access to within our Help Now service. So I just want to now show you how our live sessions work. So I'll go ahead and click on the Live Help button right here. So we saw a number of different areas throughout our service where you can connect with our live tutors. But the Live Help option here is one of the most often used ones. So I'll connect from here. I just choose a grade level and a subject. Let's say I choose 8th grade, writing, and then I click on the Get Live Help button. So this is our online classroom right here that's opening up. This will always look the same no matter what subject you choose. You'll always see the same online classroom. For today, I just set it up so that I would connect with myself. So I'm also logged in as a tutor. You see the tutor's name here. You also see the student and the tutor's name over here in the participants box. So normally the session will begin with a greeting from the tutor, and then the tutor will try to figure out what exactly the student needs help with. So in this case, the tutor would only know that I chose 8th grade writing help. So if I want to type something back to the tutor, I can just click right down here in the chat box and type. So that's an instant messaging feature. It's where most of the back and forth communication occurs. The audio option will always be deactivated when you're connected with our tutors. So all of the communication is done through the chat box or through our whiteboard space up here at the top. When you're connected in a Meet session, though, that's one of those sessions with whoever you'd like to invite. In those sessions, you are able to use audio. But when you're connected with our tutors, there will be no audio. So we have the chat box. The other main part of the online classroom here is the whiteboard space. So this area can be used for a number of different things. If I logged in for a skills building session, and chose a topic that I wanted to work on, this is where the tutor would load our lesson. So our lessons are broken down into slides that fit into this window here. So the tutor and student could work through the different slides within that lesson. If a student logs in looking for help, on a resume, we have a number of resources available to our tutors. For example, sample resumes, resume templates, same thing for cover letters. So we have a lot of resources that our tutors have access to that they can load into our online classroom here if that would help the student. But of course the student might just log in with a math problem or a chemistry equation that they need some help with. And if that's the case, they can use all these different buttons that we have here along the left-hand side to type out their question on the board. So if you put your mouse over each of these buttons here, you'll get a brief description of what that button does. A lot of this works similarly to Microsoft Paint or a program like that. So anything that's put on the board here is visible to both the tutor and the student. So we're essentially working on the same whiteboard. So you can type anywhere on the board using this button. The font button lets you change the font that you're typing in. Color wheel lets you change the color of the next thing you put on the board. This is a very useful button here which says paste text or image. So anything that can be copied and pasted can be pasted right onto our whiteboard. So you can take the introduction from a paper you're writing and paste it here and then work through that with the tutor. If you have a math problem from an online source, you can paste that here. Pretty much anything can be put on the board. This is just a straight line tool, so you can use it to underline or to draw figures. Let me change the color again here. And the next button we have is a graph. It actually lets you choose from a number line or a graph. So if you choose the number line, you can click and drag that onto the board. Or if I change the color again, we can put a graph on the board. And these are just the default numbers. You can double click on the icons here and it will let you change the X and Y values. Then we have a basic shapes tool. So you can add lines to the graph. Or if I change the color again, you can put some other basic shapes onto the board as well. The arrow here just removes the most recent thing you put on the board. So if you keep clicking on that, you'll move backwards. The math button gives you a long list of math symbols in case you need any of those. SCI does the same thing for science symbols. Then we have a button for superscripts, another for subscripts, and then down at the bottom, you can clear the entire board. Up at the top here, we have a few additional options. We have a print button here, so that will let you print out the whiteboard. If you went over a problem that was especially difficult and you got some nice help from the tutor, you can use the print button if you'd like to have a hard copy of that. However, you don't need to do that because we also have the View Past Sessions button back here on the website. So as long as you've signed in with the username and password, your sessions will automatically be recorded and saved right here on this page. So you can log back in anytime and replay one of these session recordings. If you do happen to log in as a guest, though, and then you have a very successful session that you would like to be able to view later, you do have an option for that. You can click on this envelope icon right here, type in your email address, and that will email a link to you that you can use to view that session recording. So once the session's complete, you're about to sign out, just click on this button here, and you can send yourself a session recording. That button can also be used by a registered user, and then they would have access to their recording from their email rather than having to sign into their Brainfuse account. This button right here says Send File. So this lets you upload a document directly to the tutor that you're connected with. So you can send them a paper you're working on, or a worksheet that you're having some difficulty with. Any standard document type can be sent to the tutor. And then the last button here is for the Cloud Pack Explorer. So this lets you access any documents that you have saved in your Cloud Pack. So any papers, class notes, worksheets, again, anything like that that you have saved in your Cloud Pack, you can then access here, and it will allow you to upload it right onto the whiteboard. So that's just another way to share something with your tutor. You can use Cloud Pack, you can use the Send File button, or you can also use the Copy and Paste option. Okay, so I'm just going to close that window. So that's basically how a live session works. The last thing I want to show you today, though, is a Meet session, and I'll highlight the few differences that we have between a regular live session, like the one we just saw, and a Meet session. So to access Meet, again, we clicked on that button right here, down at the bottom of the main page. Then you just typed in an email address, a date and time, a brief description of the meeting, and send to invite whoever you'd like to invite to that session. I scheduled one earlier that I have saved over here in my calendar. So to start the session here, I can just click on the Enter button. So you'll see the window that opens up here. Looks very similar to the one that we just saw. There are a few additional buttons available here at the top. It's only the moderator or the person who scheduled this session who will see these additional buttons. Everyone else will see the exact same online classroom as the one we just saw before. And even for the moderator, the majority of these additional buttons are grayed out and are not used. So really the online classroom here works the same way. The few differences that we have, though, are the audio, which I already mentioned. So in a Meet session here, you will be able to use audio and speak back and forth to everybody connected in the session. Also, you can have any number of participants, so it won't just be the tutor and the student. You might have 5 students connected here, or however many you invite. They'll all be connected in the same classroom here. So anything put on the whiteboard or typed in the chat box would be visible to everybody signed in to the session. And the one other difference is very useful if this session is being run by a tutor or by a teacher, someone who's giving instruction to the other participants. The moderator would be able to click on the names of each participant here in the participants box and essentially give each person a private whiteboard. So what that means is right up here next to the public tab, you would have a separate tab, say for student A. If you give a private whiteboard to student A, there'll be a tab right up here that says student A, and you can click on that tab and it'll be a completely separate whiteboard, and anything put on that board would only be visible by that one student and by the moderator of the session. So it's a great way for the person who's running the session here to give extra help to one or two students who might be struggling more than the other students in the session. So it gives them some individual help, and the other students would not be able to see what's written on that whiteboard. Other than that, though, the Meet sessions here will run essentially the same way as the regular live session that we just looked at a couple minutes ago. So that's how a Meet session works. And that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over today. So that is all the different options that your patrons will have access to here within the Brainfuse Help Now service. If anyone does have any questions, either from librarians or from students themselves, the best way to contact us is by sending an email to info@brainfuse.com. We check that constantly throughout the day. Okay, thanks everyone for attending and watching the webinar today. I hope it was helpful.